Are you able to hear my voice?
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. That's cool. I think we can get going. Let me share my screen. And we'll start. Let me have a glass of water. I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Oh, only Teams only I'm able to see.
Oh yeah, I mean now.
Yep. Visual
Yeah.
Studio 22. Yeah.
20. Yeah, everything is here. So let me quickly go and start on this, and we'll get going on this one. So these are some of the improvements which we are doing on top of the official Microsoft labs, because I mean, they are going by the syllabus, but we are going a little bit a different APIs also. Okay, so let us see one thing. How do we deploy the .NET API and speak with a database, right? So let me quickly open this API, and then we'll start from there. We'll see that how do we integrate our local thing, this API, with Azure. So let's start with this first, and then we will go and deploy this one. So this includes the cache aside pattern. Okay? So Azure cache aside pattern. So this pattern is also included. We'll discuss about that one, and also a little bit about the Redis cache and a little bit about the Azure SQL database also. So first, let me show the resources which were created for this. So if you see, we have two resources. One is the database, and the other one is the Redis cache. So Redis cache is also being deployed here. We have both. We have Redis cache, and also we have the SQL server. So two pieces out of this. So the first thing is, let me open this Redis cache in a new tab, and also the SQL Server database in a new tab. So if you go here, we will have console, and again we'll come back and get the keys in a minute. But let's see, coming here, if I say keys of asterisks, so right now there's nothing in here. We didn't store anything. So we'll come and see that. And I'm using the database from the Azure itself. If I come in here, so this is the database. We have it. Let's see how many rows are there in this. It has got quite a few rows are there here. I think 5 to 6 rows are there, at least a minimum. So this should be good enough. So as you know that the cache aside pattern is, first it will come and check whether there is a content which we are looking at in the cache, Redis cache, or any cache for the matter of fact. So if it is not available in the cache, we will go get the content from the SQL server and store a copy in the cache. Okay, so we'll see this live here, but at least first I will explain you what is available where. Okay, this one will come back a little later, the Blazor Wasm web app. But at this point of time, we will be focusing on the API side of the world. So if you see that there are some of the common libraries which we have it. So out of that, the first is this core where we have some of the constants and a little bit of configuration. And if you see this configuration, this is called strongly typed configuration in ASP.NET. So what is that means? If you come and look at it here, so there is this one, the configuration inside the app settings or app settings will have the same structure of this class. So what will happen is inside the program where program.cs, where you go and build this, get this configuration, get section, name of data store settings. That means it will go and grab this entire block. Okay, it will go and grab in line number 28, it go and grab the entire block. And then we are adding a singleton, a single copy of this iData store settings. And we are getting the I options of the data store. So what happens is this entire structure will be saved into this. So anywhere you go, you don't need to again look at it, the configuration. I mean, we don't need to go and look at it, the JSON files again. All we have to do is go grab this settings wherever you need it. If I come in here and check at the entire solution, and you can see that we loaded that in the program.cs, but here I needed it. So all I can do is request the dependency injection framework to inject it because we already loaded it as a singleton here in the program.cs. So any libraries, this library, the Redis cache library, it needs it, as well as the SQL Server book repository, even that needs it. So these people are not accessing the configuration again. You see that? We read this entire content into a strongly typed class and loaded it as a singleton in the main application, the books API. And then in different libraries or wherever you need it, to be precise, wherever we need it, all we need to do is ask the dependency injection to inject it. So it knows that because we already injected it here. It knows it, and the dependencies will be resolved. So we'll see this in a minute in action before we deploy. And what we will do is we will deploy the thing we'll deploy it in the Azure, and we'll face some problems. Then we will learn what was the issue and how did we resolve. Because if everything we do it smooth, we don't know what is happening, right? So we have to face some problems, issues, then only we'll be able to solve it. Okay. So let me grab the connection string of this one. I'll put it in a notepad. Okay. And also let's go to this one and grab the connection string. Okay. So I put it here, and now I need to have the username password, not this connection string. We need this connection string. Get this connection string. So that's the change. Undo. Change the password. So let's go and grab this. And I do have this over here. I will store the connection string here and the Redis cache connection string here. I'm storing it here. Before I start do anything, I just once again want to come back here, Redis cache, and go to this overview and come to this keys of asterisk. Doesn't have anything, scan count 0, right? So now I'm starting this books API. So this is how we are loading the dependency injection container. We are loading everything. And here we have get all books. Okay. So what I will do is I will place a debugger in this business logic layer. In this business logic layer, this is add book. This is get all books. So I place the debugger here and I click on get all books. Okay. I just click on this get all books and execute it. So it come and hit this debugger and I'm going and book cache repository. That means I go to the DLL where it is going and retrieving the content from cache. Did we find from cache? No, there's nothing in the cache. So it has returned the null. So if it is null, what we are doing is we are going and getting the books from the books repository. Now we are hitting the SQL Server. You see this, the first hit, it took few milliseconds. So there are 7 rows, the one which we have seen in the database. Okay, now we'll quickly come back over here and again search. There's nothing in here. The moment we cross this line number 61, and now you come and check that there is all books. Okay, now if I say get all underscore books, see that is the cache aside pattern. Okay, so now if I add a new record, what is happening? I'll just show you, because that's technically we have to invalidate the cache. If I add another book, that means the number of books in the SQL server, will be 8, because as of now there are only 7. Come in here and go back to this books. And if I get this, you can see as of now there are 6 plus 1, 7 rows are there. So there are only 7 rows. But if I do an add, that means the database will have 8 books, but whereas the cache will have only 6 books. So I have to invalidate the cache. That means I need to remove that data from the cache. So that's called the cache aside pattern. So as long as the data is exact match with the data on the data store, we can keep this data in the cache. The moment the content in the database has changed, it is our duty to come back and invalidate the cache so that the next hit will not find that hit in the cache. He goes to the database and gets it. So that's this code which is doing it. That's perfect. So now what we will do is we will go and deploy, and now we will face a lot of problems. Not one problem, we'll face a lot of problems. I love problems, seriously, because that's when we will learn new things. Let's come back here. Let's create a new web app. Let's take a simple free version. We don't need any computing power. This is all the resources. I will delete it after the demo. So let's take a very free one. In this one, let's call it as app-books-api-dev001. Okay. So it's code, and the runtime stack is .NET 6. And I need Windows East US and create plan. I want to create plan of app. Okay. And I don't need that much big. For me, it should be free, should be good enough. Let's do the deployment. GitHub Actions, we disabled it. And public access, we allowed it. And application insights, we don't need it. And I'm reviewing and creating this now. So let's click on create. I'm creating it. So let that deployment be finished. Then we will go ahead and deploy. So you see that server forms. That means this is the app service plan. Server forms is app service plan. It has created the app service plan. And it will take another 30 seconds or so to create. Okay, the deployment is done. Let's go to our resource group, and we see the app service plan, which is of free F1 app service, and this is our app. And we all already know that it will have a default page, and that page is hosting start.html. We already know all these things, so we don't need to worry about that. So now what we will do is we will go ahead and deploy. We will go ahead and deploy this, the Books API, to the web app. So it's loading in there. So Books API, this is the one. It properly located it. So I'm saying that, hey, go and deploy it to the Books API. Are you sure you want to deploy? This will override any deployments. I'm saying that, yes, I'm sure. Please go ahead and deploy it. And let's come back here. And this time we will go into the Kudu console, not to the console, because in the previous episode we saw app service editor and there, but this time we will come to the Kudu console because we want to do the investigation also. Let me update that while this is happening. So if you come and see what is that which is happening behind the scene. So behind the scene, it compiles it, and then it creates a zip file. If you see at the top, it creates a zip file and it deploys the zip file to the app service. So if you see that, it deploys this zip file, and that is stored somewhere here in this one. And by the time we go and search, I don't know whether it is available or not, but let's give it a shot. See, it's gone. I mean, they deploy, and you see all these files has been deployed. So now we can come back to this app service, and let's go to the command over here. And this also we have seen that. Let's go into the site, and then let's go to the www root. And this is where we are seeing that it deployed our project here. Okay, so it deployed our project here. So if we come and see the controller, the books controller, that books controller endpoint, you see that the endpoint get, if we go here /API/controller and /books, so that will go and hit the get type. So actually I did one mistake, so let me correct that mistake now. I will right mouse click on this one and click on publish. Actually, we should publish the binaries. I shouldn't have clicked on the folder, but what it do is, what did it do is it brought the C# code, which is not, we are supposed not to do that. Okay, it was my mistake. While speaking something, I did that. So I'm coming back here, and I'm saying that do a new publish to the folder. This is the folder. It is inside bin release .NET 6 publish. I click on finish and I click on close, and then I am clicking on publish. So you can see that it builds that, and it takes the binaries and it drops only the binaries. It doesn't bring all the source code, any of the source code, because the one which I did previously was my mistake. Now, if I come in and see the publish folder, this is where you can see that all the binaries will be available. So what we have to do is now we need to go into the bin release and publish. So right mouse click on that, and this is what we need to deploy. I want to deploy it to the books API. Yes, go ahead and deploy and override any of those changes. This I will close this, and let's check the output. That's what I output folder. You see that it deleted the previous one, and now you see it started uploading the binaries. So now we don't have the source code. Nothing is there. Now see this automatically. It deployed it. Now we can come back to the Kudu console. Let's go to the www root. Here you can see that now we did the perfect thing. We published it to the local folder and deployed it. This is only one of the ways. There are multiple ways to deploy. This is one of the ways to do it. Okay. So everything got deployed, and we were able to come to this one and API/books. As I was mentioning, we will do what is it? This one. Okay, where is that? We did this deployment from here and app books API dev one. So it is coming and it is showing all these things, which is not the expected behavior, because we will never ever store anything here, right? We will never ever store these credentials and deploy, because this has to go to the source control and everything will get deployed from there. So let me reverse it back. This one, I reverted to the previous code, and let's do another publish to the same folder. I do another publish because it should not, we should not store this in the app settings. Because see this, if someone who has got access here, if I do cat app settings.json, they are clearly getting the connection strings in clear text. It is dangerous. So what we will do is we will go back and we did another push here, and I'll come back. I mean, we can directly deploy it from here also. Deploy from publish, and here itself we can do publish it to Azure. Okay, there are multiple ways, but I want to show it this way so that we can see that what is happening under the hoods. And I come back and see that we have reverted back. Okay, so the connection strings and everything we have reverted back, and we have given our local connection strings. We removed the connection strings of Azure. So now this is what I want. I want problems. So let's wait a couple minutes. I don't know why it is troubling us this much. Okay, so I've selected it and I said deploy. So let me close this and start it. So this binary package, the binaries, the publish, it's creating a zip package of this. And then it will start the deployment. And we'll see if you are able to go and check that zip package. It's 5.7 MB. Let's see if you're able to go and check the temp directory. Okay, so oh god, let me see that zip deploy. Wow, it's not allowing. Okay, so that's the temp. So it's already deployed. So let's come back to this page where it was displaying the content previously. Now it takes a second or two. It spins and then gives us 500 status code. So I'm waiting for that 500 status code. There's the network. Network tab is here. Let me stop and click on this. And it spins. And it should give the error. Wow, it's taking a little bit longer than I expected, but net, we were expecting 500 and we got that 500. We are happy. We are expecting problems and we got one. Now, how do we investigate? Because we are not getting any more information. It says that 500. So internal server error. That means there is some issue in the C# code, or we don't know where it is. One of the way to investigate this, and the other ways we could have enabled the application insights or logs, go check the logs. So I have a very raw, crude way to do that. So you can come to the log files, and there is something known as event log. This event log is equivalent to the Windows event log. So if I come and click on this, see that's everything you see. The similar kind of content will be there in our event log. If we do event VWR, you'll exactly see that. So if you scroll down very slowly, and here you're seeing one of the message. So it's not able to communicate to the Redis cache, as well as it's not able to communicate to the SQL server. It says that server was not found. Okay, it says that the server was not found because we said localhost or local DB's connection string was there. In this app settings, if you see that, it was pointing to local DB, which doesn't exist there. So what we have to do is we need to come back to the app service and then go to the configuration. We need to go to the configuration, and inside this configuration, we need to create a new application settings. The application settings will be __ this one. So we need to learn one point on this one. So app settings __ in Azure app service. So if you go to the official documentation, so you can see that we have __. So it is that we need to have the Linux style. That means wherever in our local, if you see in our local, if you go ahead and see this piece, the connection string, we will use this type. The parent element come child element, but when we deploy it, it should be the colon will be replaced with _. So that is the reason. If you see the parent element and the child element, so we have to create the parent element __ child element, but in our local we use colon. And for the value, I'm taking it from here and I'm pasting it. Okay. And the second one, what we need is the same data store settings. We need to create a new, these all things should be done through the CI/CD. We don't do manually, but to have an hands-on experience, to know what is happening under the hoods, we are doing it manually, but everything should work through CI/CD pipeline. So we need to save it, and technically, when we save this app settings, it will restart the app service. Sometimes it doesn't apply those changes. Maybe it is taking a little bit of time or something, I'm not sure, but let's come back over here and I will delete everything. Okay, please don't do it in production. I'm doing it because this is the demos which I'm giving. So just to know the internals, I'm doing this. Okay, so now I come back to this one and I click on this. This time it's spinning. So if that means it went through. Now if you come back here and see, there are no errors. And also, if I come back to the dub site, dub root, and here, let me do the cat app settings.json. Here you're not seeing it. I mean, even if someone gets hold of app settings, because we have to check in this app settings, and it shouldn't store the connection string of production. I mean, only our local database connection strings should be stored, and it should definitely have all the values, whatever is needed to deploy this application. Everything should be there. So that's how the DevOps team or your colleague who wants to work in this this source code, he knows that what all the values he should have it in his app settings or secrets.json, right? So now we are able to. Now let's go and see. Are we able to look at it here in this? Oh, okay. I didn't switch on this. Again, I need to go and switch on the logs, but that's not needed, right? So here we are able to hit it, and even we didn't enable the app settings. That's for another demo, but this is the first exercise, whatever we did it here. So let's do it here. Okay, so that's the first exercise we did it, and okay. So next, what we will do is we will. Last time we did C#. This we will do it this, and then we'll come back and we'll do it in the next episode. We will do this one. So for that, what we will do is we need to create a HTTP trigger and Node.js. So if you come back to the resource group, to come back to the resource group, in the previous episode, we did create some of the demos. I don't remember exactly where did I do that demos. Was it this one? Is it this one? I don't remember exactly. I think it was this, because we do have a storage account. Not that. Just give me 1 minute. I will locate it. No problem. Let's recreate it here. Okay. So let's follow this documentation. So we need to create a function. We call this as this one. Let me go back to home. I'm clicking on this, the resource group. Let me minimize that so I get some extra space. And I'm to get the function app. There are a lot of ways to search, and function app. That's one. Azure function app. We are creating this. Let's follow this documentation as it is. Create the function app. We call this as Func AZ portal, because we are creating it from Azure. That's the reason called it as a AZ portal. It's going and checking whether this FQDN is available or not, because what will happen is in the previous exercise, if you see that the connection is secure, and if I come and get the certification, it's a wildcard certificate. So *azureWebsites.net. So anything with Azure Websites.net, anything with that, it will be valid, because it is asterisk here. You see that wildcard *azurewebsites.net. So that's a wildcard certificate. So this should be unique. So let's do this one. Ooh, God. So let's call, give today's date, 10th May. Wow, we got it. And now the runtime stack. The runtime stack, we will take it as the Node.js. Okay. And we can use the long term 18 and East US, and let's keep it. And here, if you see that, if you back up your Azure function with any of those plans like app service plan or function premium, that means it's not serverless because you are paying some amount for that hardware or the computing power. That means it's not serverless. Only the consumption plan, dynamic or Y1, only the first option is serverless. So I will use the existing, let me use this existing one. And let's go to networking. Public access is there. And in the monitoring, no, we don't want that. I will show you in the next month's episode when we're doing continuous integration. Also, let's disable as of now. And let's go ahead and create this. So that's the first step. And then once this Azure function app gets created, then we'll go ahead and create the Azure function. Okay. I think we created this function app, or we used the sample, isn't it? Let's create one through Visual Studio Code in the next month episode, where some of this portion will be pending. It will not be completed in next 12 minutes because that's the bigger one. So we'll create it. Let's have another session before hitting the third lab. Let's do that. So I will close this. Also, I will close that. Let's give it a minute. So you can see that again, this is the one, app service plan, and we got it. Our Azure function app got created. This is the one. You see this difference now. If we go to the previous app service plan, and that app service plan has got F1, the free tier. Now, if I come and see that, what is this free tier? And it says that it gives us 60 minutes of computing power. No vCPUs has been allocated, 1 GB of memory, and remote storage of 1 GB. That's what is being allocated to us. Now let's come back and see what is this consumption plan. Now you notice the plan, app service plan itself is Y1. So let's see that Y1 app service plan. You know, you see this when we go and get deep into the app service plans. So that's where you know that the Y1 is called dynamic app service plan. That means consumption. You see that the scaling up has been disabled and the scale out also has been disabled, because the consumption plan is assume that you are connected through a service bus queue or Azure storage queue. So that means if it has got one message, so quickly this piece of code gets executed. if it has got two messages, so it creates two processes and process those two messages. If there are 10,000 messages, I'm not sure it will create 10,000 instances, but it will dynamically scale and start processing those messages as quickly as possible. That's is what the consumption plan. So it is Y1. It's a dynamic plan. Now we got this function app, and at this point of time, if you see that functions, I don't have any functions inside this. I just created a function app and a dynamic consumption plan. And now let's create this. Let's come back to the deck, and we need to create array operations. We need to create a, see that very carefully. If you observe that, this is HTTP trigger. There are a lot of triggers. There is a timer trigger also. So if you want to execute a piece of code every n number of minutes or seconds, whatever is your business use case, you need to select the timer function. And if you select a HTTP type of triggered Azure function, you can't execute the scheduled function. I mean, the scheduled task you can't execute. For that, you need to have a separate trigger. Then only it will work. We will see that in the, because I have an entire plan. There will be another mini project where we will be creating the timer trigger. This is again a HTTP trigger. There is another demo. This is the timer trigger. So we have to do this another two demos also, along with the C# one, which is pending. So I think we will have another session where we go through those deep dives. So we have to create a array operations. That's the name I'm giving it. So we said that we need to select it, and we have to slowly come to the bottom where you'll find where we can change that. Authorization level, I'm keeping it as function, and I just create a Azure function. So let's give it a couple of minutes. So what we will do is we get into this Azure function and we'll go into this code and test. When we go to this code and test, this is one of the way we can test the Azure function. You can see that it has this function JSON and index, and it has written something where you can click on this and click on run, and then it gives us the output here. It will hit this, and it said hello Azure, because our input, if you see that the input was this one. If I say give some name, so it gives that as output here. See that? So at least we were able to test it. Step number 3. Again, we can do it. Get this URL, and we can go and open any of the browser, and it says that we didn't give the name because that's what it is expecting, either from the body or as part of the query string. So we already have the code. I'll go and type name. Give a name. Now it has taken this name. So multiple ways we can test it. So we saw a couple of ways. One way is to code and test tab, one way through the browser. Now we can check this integration tab. Now this integration tab, just give me a minute, I'll have a glass of water. This integration tab is where we'll get the pictorial representation that we will see in the next episode. See, there is only one good reason for this function to execute. That means there will be only one trigger. It can have any one or more, 0 or more input bindings, and similarly, it can have one or more output bindings, but only one trigger. If you come to the monitor, and inside the monitor, how many executions has happened and other informations will come. Because we didn't enable this, that was the reason we are not able to see this. Next episode, I will show that one also. Now, storage account explorer, we can go and check the storage account, but we don't need it now. Let's go to the Kudu console of this one. So let's go to the advanced tools. And click on Go. And it brings us to the Kudu console, which we have seen that earlier. So I can come in here to the debug console. You see that we have to come to home site www and the function. We need to come in here because we want to install additional packages. So we need to come to site www and ArrayOperations. So here we should be. Okay, the first command is we need to execute is in a minute. Sometimes it doesn't work. Now it is working. Most of the times it always works, but npm install load dash. I am installing these two packages. We did that, and another one. It's installing. See this, if we go to that node modules in the load dash, okay. You're seeing it, it's installing. See the number of items, it is growing. That means, oh, geez. Okay. So that might be, I told you, I should have been a little patient. I could not stop my excitement to see that. And is it giving us the control? Yes or no? I don't know. Let me check that. Let's come back to this one and let's check this package JSON. It didn't update the load dash. It should show that. Let's wait. Open this again. Site www root and ArrayOperations, and let me paste it again. Let's see whether, wow, we got the package lock JSON. That means it is installing this. I don't want to touch any file this time because last time when I was into the node modules folder, it displayed some error messages. So this time, let's wait patiently to check. It takes some time, but definitely it will give us the control. And I'm seeing that. If I go, see that, the load dash. So that means the dependencies are good. But let's wait and leave that window as it is. and come back to the Azure functions. And now, after having that, I can go starter files, func portal, and index. Now, this is the package JSON. It should look exactly like this, plus or minus, but the name is ArrayOperations, the version, and I didn't write it, but we can keep it this way. And this is the index.json. So let me do a raw and copy this and come back here, and let's go to this code and test, where we have this index.json. Let's get into that and paste it. Let me cancel this. Okay, so it successfully completed that. Let's come back to this code and test window and copy paste the function. What it is doing, we will see that. It's not a big one, but it's a very simple thing. So it expects the input to be sent as part of the body. So this is a request.body.name and body.digits. That means it needs to have these two pieces of information. And then digits, we are doing a context log, as well as then we are splitting it. Then another good thing is we are displaying the computer name here. So that means this has been hosted behind some server, and some computing power is definitely being used, and it is hosted. And let me come back to this folder and the README, because this is where we were. Okay, I copied the code. Let me come back over here and let me replace the entire thing and click on save. Now this I borrowed it from the Stack Overflow. This was the most used function to create the UID. Rest of the code is as it is. Okay. So if you see, it should have a name and it should have digits. This is the input. So let's do test run. It's a post method because we need to send the body name, and also I need to send digits. And 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm telling this, click on run. And now if you see, it goes and executes that, and you see almost, except the content, a little bit, you see success, you're getting success message, and executed at what time it executed. This last time executed, and execution date time, last time I executed in September 2021. Now I'm executing it in May 2023. So we did the reverse data and partition data using the load dash. You see that all these things are there. So I close that. I get this one and use the Postman tool. Let's use this Postman tool to test this. Okay, now let me get this. Oh, Jesus, sorry. And to get the function URL, copied it. the function URL, and it should be the post method. And here is a body and raw and JSON. We can come back to this one where we already given the input. We can copy that. I'm coming back to this and I'm saying that name and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I execute it. Now from my local machine, I'm hitting. If you see this we are testing it from the Azure portal. Now this one, we hosted this resource in East US. Now if you see that the call is going from India to East US and it to 261 milliseconds. I mean, every hit, it will be plus or minus 300 milliseconds or 200 milliseconds, somewhere in between that. And we were able to get all these things. Okay, so we did these two, and there are other mini projects I want to show. This is like input binding and output binding, and another one through timer trigger. So timer trigger we'll see through C# project as well as through the Node.js or the TypeScript thing, JavaScript. So those are the two things which we will be seeing it. So that's it for today. So do you guys have any queries or anything you want to discuss, or do you want to learn? Because this is AZ204 Hands On Labs, and I will be starting AZ104 also. I'm planning it to start from July because I have to prepare the content before we started. So hope you guys have learned something new, and let me give my URL of the repo so you guys can find me there. So how was today's session? Any
Thank you,
queries?
Vishwanath. The session was very good. And
Yeah,
Vishwanath,
Bhavya.
actually, I just missed the previous session video link. Can I get it?
Your voice is too low.
Yeah, one
Could
second.
you speak a little louder?
Yeah, Vishwanath, am I audible now?
Yeah, no, much better. Yeah, go ahead, Bhavya.
Actually, can I get a previous session's video recording? And
Oh yeah. Let me share my screen. Let me share my entire screen, and you can come in here. And this is .NET Learner's House. .NET Learner's House. So here under videos, you will have the first session and second session. I think I have created a playlist also for this AZ204 lab. The moment I upload, you will get it. So this is my YouTube channel. So please subscribe to that so that you know
sure,
you will get notified. You can call me Swami. Everyone calls me Swami.
okay.
Okay, so this one is my meetup group. Keep it handy. So I will be starting sessions on Azure OpenAI. That's my next session. And Amazon SageMaker, and I'm doing the microservice series.
Okay.
So every week there might be one video out from this. We'll see. Okay, AZ104 also. Just go through those two previous videos and the current video I might upload by tomorrow.
Okay.
And have any queries, you guys can ping me in Twitter or here in this also. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Cool. Thanks, Bhavya. Krishna, anything from your side, Krishna?
Nothing, Swami, actually. Thanks. After long days, I've joined this your session. It's a very good session. Swami, actually, I want to get is there any sample questions like to practice preparing certification?
Oh yeah. The Microsoft official site itself, they are giving the practice questions for free.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you see AZ204. Hey, 1 second. Okay, sorry. Someone knocked the door. So if you come here in the certification, see this here. Practice test.
This practice will help us actually. This I've seen that some basic. It's not that much.
But yeah, because see, there are two things. One is you have the basic practice questions, as well as you have the self-paced collection. Entire 11 modules. All the 11 modules. Like if you see that, whatever we did it as part of this Azure web apps or the Azure functions, almost, I mean, whatever this I told it was from my previous, when I did the certification, from that knowledge. Now if you see that most of the things you can see here, like the configure web app settings. So this we have seen. And the diagnostic logging we have seen.
Yeah, even Microsoft given that option also, but people are telling that there is a course in Udemy, there is a course in somewhere. So like this, we need to go anything, or this is enough for us to get the certification.
Oh, this syllabus, Microsoft official syllabus should be good enough, because additionally, if you want to go through some of the course from Udemy or whatever you feel like, every platform, they are giving it now. Like if you see PackPub, they are giving and Pluralsight and different people they're giving it. But I strongly suggest to do this syllabus from Microsoft MS Learn, and then on top of that, you want to go ahead and do the course from Udemy, you can do it. And it's my personal choice. You might like or you might not like, but my personal choice is Alan Rodriguez. If it is, if you are buying the Udemy course, that's my personal choice. I really like the way he explains. It's a wealth of knowledge, so it's my personal choice. Again, I'm telling. I like the way he explains from the same MS Learn. So see you guys. Have a good night. Bye, folks.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Bhavya.
Thanks, Krishna.